So here we are again, folks. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk. I'm Mobile Geezer, and if you're on YouTube, you're watching on my Mobile Geezer channel, or you can watch me simultaneously from Facebook from either Mobile Geezer or George Hayes. So three are simulcast at the same time every week. And if you're new here, we do this every Friday at this time. And we talk about some of the tech stories from last Friday to this Friday. So a week's worth of tech. And I try to come up with some interesting stories that I think you guys may like or learn something from. And on the weeks when there's a big presentation, I try to put that in also. This week, as far as I know, there were no big presentations, but I do have some stories for you. And I just want to acknowledge Annette was in here first time that Annette was in here this early. I'm very, very flattered. And Eleanor just popped in also. So glad you ladies are here. Two of my very regular ladies. Haven't seen any of the other regulars as yet. If you're new here, please make a comment in the comment section and say where you're from. And please subscribe if you haven't already. So every week I give you the stories, the show notes for tonight on my webpage. So let me go present that. I'll share screen. So if we go over to my webpage, I can share it. Okay. So if you go to mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, click on today's date, and you'll get just the show notes for this week. So as I do every week, while we're here, I give you a little preview of what we're going to talk about. I stole this picture from somebody. I can't even remember. Oh, I just thought it was a great picture. And I said, would you trust X with your financials? Elon is banking on it. Yes, the pun was intended. And that's a story on Ars Technica. So that's the first one we're going to go over. And Elon is still trying to make X the everything apps. So we'll see that once we get in there. Then I found a story on Phone Arena. Watch out iPhone. Here's what I said. Watch out iPhone, Pixel, and Galaxy. Here comes OnePlus. And I said again, because they just got nailed pretty good by the OnePlus Open, which I have right here. So OnePlus is seems like they're very much back on track. So this is talking about the OnePlus 12 that we're expecting, I think, in January. And this might be the phone to go up against all the top phones. So we'll go over that. Then I found a story that you might find interesting. I never heard of Yangtze Memory Technologies Corporation. So it's YMTC. But they're the second largest Chinese chip maker. And I just said Chinese chip maker YMTC buying its way around sanctions. Yeah, it costs a lot to go out and find other providers when you can't buy anything from an American company. So that's on Tom's Hardware. We'll go over that. And then ARM, I said ARM says pass the Raspberry Pi, at least a minority stake, because they have bought a minority stake in Raspberry Pi. So we'll go over that. And a couple of Apple stories. Sales are not doing well. Well, kinda. My first one says Apple says keep taking small dips. That was on BBC News, and we'll go over that. And right behind it, I found the story on The Verge that says iPhones are selling okay. Macs, that's another story. So they're hoping that the M3 will come to the rescue. We'll see. Just as I came down tonight to set up for tonight's show, I found another story about the iPhone 15 selling extremely well, which when this story was written, they didn't have enough data about it yet. So I'm probably just going to pop that in after I do these stories. And finally, we talk about Samsung sales. Samsung S23 series doing just fine. Foldables, not so much, again, on Phone Arena. And like a lot of other people, I think the S23 Ultra, which I do not have with me tonight, is the best phone of the year. And so the whole S23 series seems to be doing very well. So we'll talk about how the foldables are doing against them. So those will be the stories we're going to go over tonight. So now I'm not sure if Will or Ted is going to pop in at all. I think Ted said in the comments last week that he might be able to, but not so far. So if either of them pop in, I will certainly let you guys know. Meanwhile, I'm going to start on the stories. Like I said, no huge story tonight, just what I hope you guys find interesting. I certainly did. So, again, would you trust X with your financials? Elon is banking on it. So let's go over to Ars Technica and take a look. It says Elon Musk wants your entire financial life on X by 2024. X's success as an everything app will exceed China's WeChat, Musk says. So not only does he want it to be the everything app, he wants it to be better than WeChat. So that's by Ashley Bellinger, and that was on 10/27. So let's drop this into reader view, see if we get rid of some of these ads. 1 year into Elon Musk's ownership of X, the finances of the platform formerly known as Twitter remain shaky. But the ongoing money troubles haven't stopped Musk from forging ahead with his plan to turn X into a bank, a move he said last November would be key to helping the platform avoid bankruptcy. On an earnings call yesterday, and keep in mind this was from the 27th, so about a week old, I guess, Musk told X employees that he predicts X's payment system will launch by the end of 2024, The Verge reported. It would blow my mind if we don't have that rolled out by the end of next year, Musk said, confirming that when I say payments, I actually mean someone's entire financial life. So payments for him engulfs everything. If it involves money, it'll be on our platform. Money or securities or whatever. So it's not just like send $20 to my friend I'm talking about. Like you won't need a bank account. In January, Musk took his first steps toward this ambitious goal by registering Twitter Payments LLC with the U.S. Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. This was a necessary step for Twitter to start transmitting money between users in all states and U.S. territories, and according to The Verge, Musk confirmed that he expects to get the rest of the money transmitting licenses in the next few months. So they've got money transmitting licenses in some states, but not all yet. But Musk's vision goes beyond enabling payments within the U.S. Ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino confirmed in a blog post yesterday that while X has already secured money transmitter licenses in several states, X is moving toward launching a global payment system. So she seems to be right on board with him. More soon, Yaccarino's blog promised. When Musk announced his vision to turn X into an everything app where users go to text, call, pay, shop, bank, and post online, financial services experts told Ars that the hurdles Musk would face were pretty high. Well, that never stopped him before. X would need to earn trust from both users and regulators. That may be difficult, with the former already having plenty of banking solutions to choose from, and the latter, the regulators, becoming increasingly critical of novel digital payment entities. So I guess new digital entities haven't done so well with the regulators. Experts predicted that the choke points of finance might restrict Musk from achieving his dream of turning X into what he described at a November conference last year as the most valuable financial institution in the world. He thinks big all the time. But one way to win over users, experts said, was to monetize activity on X and then incentivize users to keep their funds on the platform by turning their user account into what Musk described last year as a high-yield money market account, so that having a Twitter balance is the highest yield thing that you can do. Guess it could work. Half of that plan is already in motion as X began paying creators on the platform last year. Yacarino's blog post said that so far, X has paid out more than $20 million to our creator community, and the post from the X account said that maximizing prosperity for content creators remained among the platform's primary goals heading into 2024. I guess I need to start learning how to create some videos over there. On the earnings call, Musk reiterated that his plan for X was to fully realize the roadmap that he and David Sacks initially wrote for PayPal in 2000. Remember, that's how Musk first got famous and rich. Musk told X employees that he remained baffled that PayPal never completed that roadmap, saying that he thinks people will be surprised just how powerful it is once X picks up the ball that PayPal dropped. So he's continuing with plans that he came up with 20-some years ago. So it'll be interesting to see if this works, but you can see the man still thinks big, that's for sure. Lewis is here from Text Me Your Needs. Hey, Lewis, glad you're here, brother. Okay, so that's story number one. Let's get that one there. We'll stop screen for a minute. All right, Ted. Lewis was the only one that popped in. And no Will or Ted as yet. So we'll go back to the stories. So our second story, I just found this interesting. I just said, watch out, iPhone, Pixel, and Galaxy. Here comes OnePlus again. And this was on Phone Arena. Let's go in there. OnePlus 12. Forget iPhone 15, this is the phone Samsung and Google should fear most. Now, keep in mind, it's a couple of months away, yet at least they think that's a couple of months away. And this was written by Martin Filipov on October 31st, so 4 days ago. And I guess that's what, I think this is what the OnePlus 11 looks like, I think. As I wrote in the recent story, OnePlus really seems to be back on track after a few years of experimenting with its product lineup. I kind of agree because I was a big OnePlus fan until the 7, the one that had the pop-up camera, and then I kind of cooled on them. And now with the OnePlus Open, which most of us think is like the hottest phone of the year, certainly the best foldable, and I haven't had the other big foldables. This is a great phone with a great camera. So I think they're pretty much back on tracks. So let me get this into reader view. Get rid of some of these ads. First with the excellent OnePlus 11, which is one of the best value flagships of 2023. That's the current one that's out now. Then with the awesome OnePlus Nord 3, which I have, I don't have it with me, which is one of the best mid-range phones of the year, I agree. And most recently with the show-stopping OnePlus Open, which, you know, I have right here. This is one of the two I took to work with me today, which is now considered the best folding phone on the global market by many. A lot of people seem to be saying that. Now, I don't have the Galaxy Fold or the Pixel Fold, but seems like those who are comparing them, most are saying the OnePlus comes out on top. OnePlus has shown great consistency in 3 perfectly different price segments, 400, 700, 1700. Yeah, because the Nord would be the 400 range and the OnePlus 11 would be the 700 range. And of course, the OnePlus Open to $1,700 range. And it's almost time to spin the wheel again, starting over with the successor to the OnePlus 11, the OnePlus 12. However, while the 11 marked a long-awaited return to the flagship killer formula OnePlus became famous for, The 12 is shaping up as a proper Galaxy S24 Ultra and Pixel 8 Pro challenger. So they're going right up against the big boys with this one, according to this writer. December 19th marks OnePlus's 10th anniversary as a phone maker, which might be why the company is aiming to make something more ambitious. With that in mind, I'll tell you why the OnePlus 12 could turn out to be the dark horse of the 2024 race for the best. Even before it comes out, he's saying this, for the best Android flagship, but also the one thing that could get in the way of OnePlus's success. OnePlus 12 might make the Galaxy S24 Ultra and Pixel 8 Pro look bad. The OG flagship killer company is going all in. Starting with arguably the most important part of any phone, the OnePlus 12 is expected to bring a record-breaking display, which the company has already shown at a recent event held in China. Now, display-wise, this OnePlus Open, pretty much everybody says this is a great display. This thing goes up to 2,800 nits, but the display is just top-notch. And this was made by BEO. According to sources familiar with the matter, the OnePlus 12 will probably have the best display in the world in 2024. The BEO-made panel is said to become a major blow for Samsung. That would be something in two key ways. For one, the South Korean company, which has been known for making the best displays in the business for many years, that's true, might be giving up its leadership position to BEO. I didn't know until I got the OnePlus Open that BEO was that good, but I gather they are. Many other phone makers are now expected to switch to BEO panels. And of course, this would mean the Galaxy S24 Ultra might be properly challenged in the one department that Samsung used to have in the bag since forever. That's very true. OnePlus and BEO promise a display with better color accuracy, thanks to Hasselblad, I'm sure, higher level of eye protection, better viewing angles, longer lifespan, lower power consumption, and noticeably higher brightness in the 3,000 to 4,000 nits range, which sounds pretty crazy. Well, yeah, because this phone, this OnePlus Open, is 2,800 nits, so that's heavy duty there. Of course, we'll have to see the OnePlus 12 to believe all of this, but if those claims prove to be true, this might be one of the biggest upgrades in display tech in a while, excluding folding panel. And if you follow the industry, you'll know that this doesn't happen often. OnePlus is cooking a special camera system for the OnePlus 12, which could technically make it the best camera phone on the market. And you can see they got that from OnLeaks. So this is, I guess, what the OnePlus 12 will actually look like. The OnePlus 12 looks super sleek and badass in black. It's right here. The shiny camera island has been growing on me since the launch of the OnePlus 11. Yeah, and if you get used to the OnePlus Open, again, you're going to have that here too. So, and trust me, you do get used to it. I kind of like it. Some people don't like the size of it. To be clear, the whole best camera phone debate is largely subjective. That's very true, and doesn't exactly have a clear answer. For example, right now I find the iPhone 15 Pro Max to be the best camera phone out there thanks to Apple's big upgrades to image processing and the iPhone's everlasting dominance in videography. So I have that right here. Took that with me to work today too. And I would have to agree. This and I think the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra and probably the OnePlus Open are probably the best phones out right now, at least in America. For normal use, okay. But the brand new OnePlus Open, yes, the folding phone, which I just showed you, has just proven that OnePlus is very much a part of the big camera race. Yeah, this could be one of the best cameras out there, not just foldables, just period. Take some of the most natural photos on the market via the Hasselblad color mode. class-leading ultra-wide photos and even incredible 10x zoom shots, which you'll see down further here, with only a 3-zoom camera rivaling the 10x shooter of the Galaxy S23 Ultra. And I'll be doing a comparison between the two on cameras probably by next week. Let's see if we can see the, we have the camera samples out. I just wanted to make sure we could see them with the rear view turned on. The OnePlus is expected to have a very similar camera setup to that of the Open, but don't let this fool you. It's not that the OnePlus 12 will have a subpar camera system that's coming from a folding phone. It's the other way around. That's right. The real takeaway here is that the OnePlus has managed to fit this flagship-grade camera setup into a foldable. I agree 100%. Everything I've taken so far is just stunning, in my opinion. And I'll be putting it up against the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So you'll see some pretty good camera comparisons. Below are the leaked rumored specs according to usually reliable tipster Yogesh Brar. I've already said this before, but the 3x zoom camera and ultra-wide shooters in the Open are some of the absolute best ones on the market, while the unique stacked primary cam promises to deliver the same light intake as a 1-inch sensor. And that's the key. It looks as good as some of these Sony 1-inch sensor phones, thanks to its ability to gather nearly twice as much light compared to a conventional 1.4-inch sensor. What could turn these class-leading camera sensors into one of the best camera systems in 2024 is the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Remember, despite using an identical camera system, the OnePlus Open's image processing relies on the year-old Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 SoC. So right now with the OnePlus Open, we're getting this out of the Gen 2. Remember, we did the story last week or a week before of Snapdragon showing off their new Gen 3 out in Hawaii. So they're going to have that. And as it's been proven many times before, a new chip with upgraded processing can result in a massive difference in photo and video quality. So 3x zoom, OnePlus Open on the left, S23 Ultra on the right. Look at that. I mean, look at the OnePlus. It's, to me, better than the Galaxy S23 Ultra, which I didn't think would be possible. OnePlus's photo has better exposure, more details, and more DSLR-like look. And a more DSLR-like look thanks to the larger sensor and aperture. So, I mean, that is absolutely gorgeous. Next one, 10x zoom. OnePlus on the left, Galaxy S23 Ultra on the right. OnePlus's photo has better exposure and just as much detail as the Galaxy S23 Ultra's shot. So that is pretty amazing that they can make it that good. Keep in mind, this is on a folding phone, but this is going to go up against any phone. Okay, then you got the specs here. I'm not going to go through all the specs, but you get 48 pixel Sony IMX sensor, OIS, telephoto camera, 64 megapixel OmniVision. I don't know what OV64B, okay, so half-inch sensor, 3x optical zoom. But like I said, the 3x zoom, when you put it up to 10 times, it still looks as good as Samsung's 10 times. And then it's got its ultra-wide camera, 48 megapixel Sony IMX581 half-inch sensor. So, all right, OnePlus 12 could be the best value flagship phone of 2024. Yeah, the price is going to be key here. If OnePlus manages to keep the price in check, the OnePlus 12 is expected to have an incredible battery/charging experience granted by OnePlus's commitment to super fast charging. Yeah, they do charge fast. Sometimes I'm amazed at how fast this OnePlus Open charges. And super large 5400 milliamp battery. Wireless charging is also coming back. That's great because this doesn't have it. Most of OnePlus phones don't. With this and the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 with up to 24 gigabytes of RAM. Wow. As per rumors, the OnePlus 12 should be one of the most powerful, longest lasting phones in the world. Yeah. But, the $1 million question, and the one thing that could get in the way of OnePlus's success, I mentioned in the intro, is whether or not OnePlus will manage to keep the price of the OnePlus 12 in check. Let's hope. But what does that even mean? The OnePlus 11 launched at $699, which proved to be an excellent price for what the flagship killer offered. However, with meaningful improvements and class-leading hardware across the board, the OnePlus 12 is shaping up to be a proper flagship, which lacks nothing but an official IP rating for water resistance. Yeah, now they're going to even have wireless charging. Yeah, that's the only thing missing, at least according to the rumors. All in all, with the rumored upgrades, I think a price increase of $100 wouldn't be shocking and should be expected. I agree for what they say we're getting, especially consider how expensive Samsung, Apple, and even Google's top-tier flagships are, starting at $900 and going up to $1,200. So it would still, if they even went up to $800, it'd still be cheaper than the others. Sure, if OnePlus managed to deliver the rumored upgrades at the old price of $700, I'd tell you to place your pre-order immediately, when the phone is announced. But even at the price of $800, which I think is a far more realistic estimate, I think that's a great price for that. The OnePlus 12 will be undercutting all major premium flagships out there, even Google's $1,000 Pixel 8 Pro. Seems like we're in for OnePlus's first premium flagship killer. And this is an important distinction to make because premium is written all over the rumored spec sheet of this Android beast. So one, let's hope it's everything that this writer thinks it is. And two, let's hope it stays down to $800. That would be pretty awesome for what you're getting, as far as I can tell. So I think that's great. Let's get out of here. Stop screen just for a second. Okay, nothing new in the comments. Let me take a quick sip. And no Ted or Will, so we will continue on. On to our third story. And this is about the second largest chip maker in China. It's called Yangtze Memory Technologies Corporation. Chinese chip maker YMTC buying its way around sanctions? I made it as a question. Let's go on Tom's Hardware and find out. China chip maker YMTC spent $7 billion to overcome U.S. sanctions. This is by Anton Shilov, published yesterday. Then raised several more billions. So they have to raise enough money to be able to buy what they need from places other than U.S. manufacturers. So that's what it's all about. That's why I said buying their way around the sanctions. So let's go into review. Yangtze Memory Technologies Corp., China's largest maker of 3D NAND memory that used to make flash for some of the best SSDs, recently secured a much-needed multi-billion-dollar investment. This money comes after the company had to spend $7 billion in a year to overcome U.S. sanctions against the Chinese semiconductor sector and YMTC's inclusion on the Department of Commerce's entity list. If you get on that entity list, you can't buy anything from U.S. manufacturers. Last year, the company received a 50 billion yuan, or $7 billion, capital boost from its shareholders, which included contributions from the government-backed China Integrated Circuit Industry Investment Fund. That's a mouthful. The so-called Big Fund. But after the U.S. imposed restrictions on selling specific chip-making tools to all Chinese companies in October and added YMTC to its blacklist, so I guess that they weren't on the list until October, the company began bleeding financially, which is why it needed additional money from its investors. This new round of funding exceeded the company's expectations. That's good, according to a report from the Financial Times. So somebody believes in them, obviously. YMTC's cash reserves were substantially depleted as it grappled with the costs associated with repairing its equipment and procuring tools from third parties. That's because they got to replace the USA ones. YMTC has been actively seeking to reduce its reliance on American chip making by turning to alternative suppliers from Europe, Japan, and South Korea. Just like other Chinese companies, YMTC is attempting to increase its reliance on Chinese suppliers, namely Advanced Microfabrication Equipment, AMEC, and NORA. And there's another chip manufacturer. I looked it up, and they're one of the main ones in China also. If Chinese companies have equipment that can be used, YMTC will use it, an investor told FT, Financial Times. If not, it will see if countries other than the U.S. can sell to it. If that does not work, YMTC will develop it together with the supplier. Now, if they have to develop any kind of chip-making stuff themselves, that's going to be a while, a year or two, I'd say 2 or at the very least. AMEC and NORA can produce quite competitive etching equipment. Yeah, and that stuff is very expensive, and it's a very slow process. I've seen a few videos about this stuff. But it is unclear whether they can produce it in large volumes, also very, very expensive. To keep developing production nodes that are more advanced than the company's leading-edge 232-layer 3D NAND, YMTC will need wafer fab equipment that is more advanced than the tools currently made by AMEC and NORA. Yeah, and I've seen in other videos that getting the scientists involved to make these things is also not so easy to find. According to your Financial Times report, these tools have to be co-developed with YMTC. So I'm thinking if that's true, you're looking at least 2025, probably 2026 is my guess. It's unclear where YMTC can get advanced lithography tools from, again, hard to come by and expensive, given the existing sanctions against Chinese chip sector by Japan and the Netherlands. So it's Japan and the Netherlands are also banning them to some degree. The best lithography tools that China's industry is about to deliver later this year can make chips on a 28 nanometer class node, but that is not enough for advanced logic or 3D NAND. So 28 nanometer is a long way from 3 nanometer. YMTC chairman Chen Nexiang, who was recently appointed as the head of the China Semiconductor Industry Association, has called for solidarity and cooperation within the industry. Yeah, if you don't cooperate, I'm sure the party will make sure that you do, or you'll be out of business. This call to unity is a response to what Chen describes as an unprecedented upheaval in the global supply chain, a sentiment that reflects the Chinese industrial perspective on both the current geopolitical tech tensions in general, as well as the specific sanctions against the Chinese semiconductor industry. I was almost reading their little ads here. So I just think it's interesting. Now, keep in mind, this is the second largest chip maker in China. So, but at least I'll give them credit for not giving up. They're raising the money, and they're going to go out and find where they can buy what they need. So I guess more power to them. I just hope the Communist Party doesn't mess them up or mess anybody else up who they may be stealing their information. That's what everybody worries about with them. So, there's Ted. Yeah, this is a great story. Yeah, I just found it very, very interesting. Thanks, Ted. You can pop in anytime you want, and you said you might. So just feel free. All right. Ted had the only comment, so let's go on. Now we're going to talk about Raspberry Pi. ARM says, pass the Raspberry Pi, at least a minority stake. That's how I worded it. So we're going to go on Tom's Hardware again and take a look. ARM acquires minority stake in Raspberry Pi. This is by Les Pounder, also published yesterday. ARM wants a slice of pie. So see, we all have our cute way of saying these things, or our pun way of saying these things. Okay. Pop into Reader View, get rid of some of the ads. ARM Holdings PLC today announced that it has made a strategic investment, a minority stake in Raspberry Pi Ltd., the arm of Raspberry Pi responsible for the new Raspberry Pi 5 and past Raspberry Pi products. ARM's minority stake extends the long-term partnership, and I didn't know they went back so far together, between ARM and Raspberry Pi, which has seen ARM CPUs feature in all of the Raspberry Pi and Raspberry Pi Pico SoC. Yeah, I didn't know they used ARM in Raspberry Pi. The partnership began way before the Raspberry Pi was available for sale in 2008. I remember that when that first started, when the original onboard was still just a dream. Fast forward to 2023, and we have a generation of learners who have taken their first steps with coding, science, and electronics thanks to the Raspberry Pi. Yeah, when I was still programming, I remember one of my buddies at work, his sons at the time were like 9 and 10, and their first programming experience was with Raspberry Pi, both of them. Both of them are now like 19 or 20 and 21. So it's been a while. ARM and Raspberry Pi share a vision to make computing accessible for all by lowering barriers to innovation so that anyone, anywhere can learn, experience, and create new Internet of Things solutions, said Paul Williamson, SVP and GM Internet of Things line of business, ARM. With the rapid growth of edge and endpoint AI applications, platforms like those from Raspberry Pi built on ARM are critical to driving the adoption of high-performance IoT devices globally by enabling developers to innovate faster and more easily. This strategic investment is further proof of our continued commitment to the developer community and to our partnership with Raspberry Pi. ARM technology has always been central to the platforms we create, and this investment is an important milestone in our long-standing partnership, said Eben Upton, CEO of Raspberry Pi. Using ARM technology as the foundation of our current and future products offers us access to the compute performance, energy efficiency, and extensive software ecosystem we need as we continue to remove barriers for entry for everyone, from students and enthusiasts to professional developers deploying commercial IoT systems at scale. Yeah, Raspberry Pi is for everybody at every level. The Raspberry Pi range of single board computers has grown in power since the initial 2012 board was released, with a single core ARM CPU running at 700 megahertz. And I remember that's the one that both his sons worked with. The recent Raspberry Pi 5 is based around an ARM Cortex A76. Where have we seen that? Oh, in last year's Pixel, I believe. 64-bit CPU running at 2.4 gigahertz, performing approximately 2 to 3 times better than the Raspberry Pi 4. ARM's minority stake in Raspberry Pi Limited also shows a firm commitment to the continuation of ARM CPUs in future Raspberry Pis. With the rise of our RISC-V CPUs, in devices ranging from $9 to hundreds of dollars, it is clear to see that we will not be seeing a RISC-V-based Raspberry Pi for the foreseeable future. So just thought it was interesting that ARM has that much faith in Raspberry Pi, and obviously Raspberry Pi will be hanging around for use at every level of programming experience. So that's very good. So nothing new in the chat. Let's get rid of this story, and I'm going to go on to the next story as soon as I take a little sip here. Okay, I've got two stories about things not being great for Apple, but I did find another story tonight with some of the same info for some good news. So I'm going to give you that right after I give you these. So first one is from BBC News. Apple says keep taking small dips, I said. Let's go in there. Apple sales dip again despite iPhone boost. And this is from yesterday. Let's go into read review. Apple sales have continued to fall despite strong demand for iPhones and services like streaming platform Apple TV Plus. Keep in mind, strong demand for its iPhones, because I'll be following up on that. The tech giant says revenues dipped 1% to $89.5 billion in the 3 months to September 30th when compared with the same period last year. Sales of its Mac computers and iPads struggled after a fourth quarter in a row where sales have investors. The firm said that profits had reached $23 billion, helped by a new record for iPhone sales, keep that in mind, in the 3-month period. The amount it took for services such as iCloud, the amount it took from services such as iCloud and Apple Music also hit a high, bringing in $22.3 billion for the California-based firm, up 16% from a year before, so that's better. But it cited concerns over potential supply chain issues hampering deliveries of its new iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max devices. Don't think that's a concern. We'll find out in a little while why. Apple chief executive Tim Cook said it was working hard to manufacture more. We do believe that later this quarter we'll reach a supply-demand balance. I think they may already have, but we'll see. Mr. Cook said he felt the firm had its strongest lineup of products ever heading into the key Christmas trading period. The latest update suggested, however, that other Apple items had been failing to capture the customer's imagination more recently. Its Mac computers, for example, saw sales drop to $7.6 billion for the quarter, down from $11.6 billion the year before. That's a big drop. It announced that the iPhone 15 would not feature its proprietary Lightning charging port. Yeah, we know that. After the European Union forced a change. Instead, it uses USB-C cable as the universally accepted standard. It has also faced challenges elsewhere, with economic uncertainty weighing on consumers in the Chinese market. On Thursday, the company said that sales in China had dipped by 2.5%, although Mr. Cook said that after accounting for foreign exchange rates, its business there had grown year on year. So, it's hard to say if that's true or not, but we have good news coming. It marked his second visit to China, a key market for Apple, this year, as the firm's operations in the country have been complicated by COVID restrictions and U.S.-China tensions. In March, Mr. Cook said he felt Apple had a symbiotic relationship with China, a key manufacturing base. So that's story number one. So let's go on to story number two. What I said was iPhone selling okay, Macs, that's another story. M3 to the rescue? We'll find out, I guess, at some point. So this was on The Verge. Apple's iPhone lineup is selling well, but the Mac is in a serious rough patch. And that's by Chris Welch, and that's also from yesterday. So let's go into review, drop some of these ads. Apple reported a record September earnings quarter, so starts out good, on Thursday, yesterday, with iPhone revenue up year over year. Even with just a week or so of iPhone sales factored into the numbers. And the story I've got coming up next backs this up big time. But all of the company's other hardware divisions were down. And as CNBC noted, overall sales were down for the fourth consecutive quarter. The company brought in $89.5 billion in revenue overall for the quarter. CEO Tim Cook told CNBC that iPhone 15 lineup is showing stronger early momentum than the 14 series. Yeah, it certainly is. If you look at iPhone 15 for that period of time and compare it to iPhone 14 for the same time in the year-ago quarter, iPhone 15 did better than iPhone 14, he said, adding that the Pro and Pro Max devices were both currently supply constrained. Well, they're doing pretty good for being supply constrained. We'll see that in a few minutes. The Mac business was hit particularly hard, down 34% year over year. So you can see the impetus for Apple holding its M3 event earlier this week. Yeah, I can see that, where the company introduced updated MacBook Pros and a refreshed iMac. Cook described the current PC consumer market as challenging. I think the Mac is going to have a significantly better quarter in the December quarter, Cook told CNBC. We've got the M3, we've got the new products, and we don't have the compare phenomenon on a year-over-year basis. Cook claimed that the Mac business was unusually strong at this time last year. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm guessing he's probably right about what's coming with the M3. With no new recent models to speak of, iPad revenue fell by 10%. Wearables revenue was down by a considerably smaller 3%. As usual, Apple's services unit was a reliable moneymaker and was up 16% year over year. So their services are doing just fine. Every main service hit a record, Cook told CNBC. Apple's CEO seems optimistic about the company's position heading into the holiday shopping season. We now have our strongest lineup of products ever heading into the holiday season, including the iPhone 15 lineup and our first carbon-neutral Apple Watch models, a major milestone in our efforts to make all Apple products carbon-neutral by 2030, he said in the press release. So I've given you the two small stories with the bad news. So I'll show you the one that I found earlier, a little while before I started broadcasting, which is nothing but good news. So let's see if I can share that. Let's see. Let me stop screen here. And I'm going to go back into sharing. Let's see if, now I got to get that window up over here first. Sorry about this, folks. Just thought this was very pertinent to the story. All right, now let's see if I can share it now. There it is. Okay. So like I said, I just found this a few hours ago. Apple announces that iPhone revenue set a record. And this was updated yesterday, late yesterday. Let me see if this will go into read view. Okay, I guess so. There's no more wondering about whether the public loves the iPhone 15 series. Apple reported its fiscal fourth quarter earnings today, which includes the September release of the latest iPhone models, as revenue for the smartphone set an all-time record for the quarter, which includes the launch of many earlier iPhone lines. For the 3 months, Apple took in $43.81 billion, in iPhone revenue, which is up 2.8% from the $42.36 billion in revenue generated by the iPhone during the same quarter last year. So they beat the iPhone 14, as we said. For the 2023 fiscal year, the iPhone took in $200.58 billion in gross, which was a 2.4% decline from $205.49 billion that the smartphone generated sales during fiscal 2022. Apple said that it expects overall revenue to be flat year over year during the fiscal first quarter of 2024, which includes the holiday shopping season, and this led to a sell-off in the shares, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Apple's second largest business segment set a new all-time record for quarterly revenue. Apple's second largest segment set an all-time record for revenue. Services gross, yes, we said services did well. $22.31 billion during the fiscal fourth quarter, a fine 16.3% increase. That's a nice increase. For fiscal 2023, services brought in $85.20 billion, 9% higher than the $78.13 billion that the unit took in fiscal 2022. It wasn't so long ago that Apple had set a goal to achieve $50 billion in annual sales for the services unit. So that's all. I'll go over here, but I just want to say there is some pretty good news for Apple going on here too. So just wanted to kind of even it out. Okay. Got nothing new in the comments, so we'll go back to our stories. I've only got one story left, so it's going to be a short night. Take a quick sip. Share screen again. All right, then to our last story. And this one is on Samsung. Samsung S23 series doing just fine. Foldables, not so much. And this is on Phone Arena. So let's go check this out. Galaxy S23 series is outselling last year's flagships, while the 2023 foldables falter. So yeah, the S23, as I've said, my Ultra, which I don't have with me, is a lot of people's best phone of the year, including mine. So this is by Alan Friedman, who's a very steady writer for Phone Arena. And let's go into read a view. Okay, Samsung's 2023 flagship Galaxy S23 series is outperforming last year's Galaxy S22 line when it comes to the ultimate consumer voting platform, the cash register. Sam Mobile cites a report from South Korea's Hana Securities to note that Galaxy S23 series sales have amounted to 22.89 million units since the phones were released over 8 months ago. That's a 22% increase for the 2023 flagship models compared to Galaxy S22 series sales over the same period. The basic Galaxy S23 model has been rung up 8.09 million times. The Galaxy S23 Plus tallied 4.11 million purchases. Now get this. The top of the line Galaxy S23 Ultra led the way with 10.11 million units sold. Somebody knows their stuff because that is a great phone, greatest phone I've ever had. The Galaxy S23 Ultra outsold its two siblings really isn't a surprise. The weakest showing of the Galaxy S23 Plus dovetails with earlier rumors that Samsung was going to announce only 2 Galaxy S24 models next year, but this rumor has since been debunked. So I guess they're still going to release 3. I don't know. Samsung might be happy with these numbers, but it can't be terribly thrilled with a similar comparison between the 2023 foldable models, Z Fold 5, Z Flip 5, and last year's foldable Galaxy phones, Z Fold 4, Z Flip 4. And as most of you know, I trade in my Z Flip 4 for my Motorola Razr Plus, which I don't have with me today. Sales of the 2023 foldables have hit 3.51 million units since their release in August, with the Z Flip 5 outselling the Z Fold 5 by a count of 2.26 million to 1.25 million respectively. Yeah, but the Flip 4 outsold the Fold 4 by a lot too, and they expected that, I'm pretty sure. The Galaxy S23 line, including the S23 Ultra, is outselling the Galaxy S22 series. Overall, the 2022 foldable model sold 3.63 million units during the comparable time period last year. The Z Flip 4 had been rung up 2.28 million times at this point in 2022, just slightly more than this year's clamshell foldable, so they didn't sell quite as many. The Z Fold 4 had tallied 1.35 million units sold, which means that last year's book-style foldable sold 100,000 more phones at this point in 2022 than the Galaxy Z Fold 5 has achieved in 2023. Oh, Renz, thank you, sir. Glad you're here. Obviously, he's busy at work again. He says, everybody have a blessed weekend. Thank you so much. You have a blessed weekend too, sir. And get some rest tomorrow. Okay. Sales of Xiaomi's 2023 foldables were ahead of their predecessors out of the gate, but the momentum could not continue following the launch of the phone. So when they first started selling it, 2023 foldables, they were ahead of last year. Now they're behind. As you might expect, Samsung's mid-range A-series phones are selling well in India and in Middle Eastern countries where their value for money features play well. The report says that in those markets, the A-series phones outsell the Galaxy S flagships and the Galaxy Z Fold model, which makes sense. So, not all great news for Samsung, but it is great. Their S23 series is selling well, and I think that's their best phone ever. So, just my opinion. So that's all the stories I have for tonight, folks. Let me stop screen. And I'm very happy that you guys came in. Renz, as always, very grateful. Hopefully we'll see Ted pop back in here one of these days soon, I hope. And, you know, when we get the occasional miracle, we'll get Will in here. When we'll see Mike again and get him away from his DoorDash, I don't know, because now he's able to buy phones with his DoorDash money. He keeps DoorDashing. Brian, glad to have you here, brother. That's funny. I just got a donation from Renz, even though he's busy at work, and you pop in. All right, Annette, have a great weekend and be safe. And you, my dear, and your family. Melissa, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you typed something, and so I know you. I did see that you liked my post on Twitter when I first said we'll be going out. I'm glad you're here. Glad to see you 2 weeks in a row. And everybody else, I hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed weekend. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. And we will see you next week, and maybe we'll get lucky and have Ted and or Will. So as always, have a blessed weekend, and we'll see you next week, folks. And here comes our usual pregnant pause for a second. I knew Brian was not going to let it go without the donation. You're so faithful and kind, sir. Thank you very much. All right, folks.